Hi, and welcome to Sanford's 8th Software and Internet Monthly Market Report for 2023. And as usual, we're going to be reviewing the previous month's M&A and venture capital activity across the entire technology landscape. So let's dive in on the M&A front. So in August 2023, there were quite a few notable M&A deals that really dominated the landscape. So we had IBM, for example, who acquired financial and operational planning software vendor Apptio. That was done for a whopping $4.6 billion. We also had two other multi-billion dollar deals, including Toma's acquisition of ForgeRock. That was done for $2.3 billion or 8.3 times revenue, as well as Strata's $1.3 billion acquisition of Syntellis. In summary, though, we saw $10 billion in disclosed transaction value, mostly driven by the 5 deals we outlined on this slide, 101 transactions, and a median revenue multiple of 4.8 across all of August, which was actually a slight uptick relative to last month's 2.6. And then moving on to yearly deal volume and dollars invested, there's really no surprise here. 2023 continues to track considerably below 2022 figures. Deal volumes tracking down to be about 28% less than last year, while dollars invested is tracking down even more at about 62% of last year. Some recent improvements relative to the last few months, but we're definitely not out of the rough waters yet by any means. And then moving on to M&A multiples. So the median revenue multiple for Q3 2023 declined slightly relative to last quarter. Part of that's because we're still lacking data, and July did come in at 2.6, although we expect this to correct in the coming months once we do get a little bit more data. Nevertheless, though, it's without question that multiples this year are still well below where they were at last year. And then moving on to SaaS versus non-SaaS multiples. So these multiples continue to stay tight in 2023 as well as 2022. And this is a trend that we're continuing to see and have talked about in previous reports. Although we do expect to start to see these expand if investors do take more of a risk-on mentality, that's really where you start to see some of those SaaS multiples really expand. And then moving on to deal volume, we finally rebounded nicely and cracked 100 deals for the month, which was the first time since that we've done that since January. Like we mentioned before, though, we're definitely not out of the rough waters yet, although this month was a good start and did show some promise from a deal volume perspective. And then switching gears to the venture capital side of things, let's take a look at how August 2023 did from an investment perspective. So we saw almost $3 billion of invested capital for the month, a median deal size of 3.3 million, and almost 350 VC transactions for the month. A big driver of this month's dollars invested, though, was Ramp's $300 million raise. That was led by Sands Capital. And then looking at monthly deal volume, VC deal counts definitely came in a bit weaker than M&A. We hit a low in March 2023 at 340 deals, and while we're not too far off of it in August, we don't really see any clear upward trend yet. Like we've said before, I mean, the current state of the interest rate environment is playing a huge role here, and there's still very much a risk-off mentality within the investor community right now. And then moving on to yearly deal volume and dollars invested, there's, again, no surprise here. Like with M&A, 2023 is continuing to track considerably below 2022 figures. Deal volumes tracking down to be about 23% less, while dollars invested is down about 42%. Now, the last point to hit home on is really just a sharp decline in VC valuations, at least for mid and late stage deals. We're seeing the largest declines right now in mid stage valuations, which are down about 50% from 2022. Next is late stage, which is down about 34%. And then early stage really hasn't been impacted that much. It's down about 7% this year. So folks are clearly being more cautious with some of those larger checks. And that's a wrap for this month's Software and Internet Monthly Market Report. If you'd like to get added to our mailing list, don't hesitate to reach out through the website to myself or anyone else on the team. Thank you.